Hi, everybody. Dave Clark from InspectCheck-net and HomeinspectorTrainingOnline.com. And today's video, we're going to talk about Pushmatic breakers. So I know that they haven't been around for a while, but we're still definitely seeing them. And I got a request. And by the way, if you have a request on something you'd like me to detail on these training videos, I would be happy to do it. Just send me an email, Dave@InspectCheck.net. Couldn't be easier, and I'll be happy to do that. So somebody did request about Bulldogs. So Bulldog Pushmatics, I should say, and that's the manufacturer name, even though there's other manufacturers. But let's dig right into inspecting Bulldog breakers, and let me grab a video. There you go. There's a Pushmatic breaker. If you haven't seen one, many of you have. There's a main right here. Okay, and there's our diagram or schematic here indicating the proper designation and if you can use minis. And believe it or not, they do make minis. I'm going to show you one. And you'll see it's labeled obviously the main, and here's our conductors, main service conductors coming in. And this is disconnected. This is a disconnected panel that we use for training purposes, and we wire it up in the classroom. And you'll see that all you do is just push this. And if you look closely, and I could make that bigger, it'll say on and off. See it right there? I'll circle that guy. And all the breakers do that. Even the branch circuits will say on and off when they're in whatever position they're in. And and you can see the breakdown here. And it looks like they'll allow us minis in some spots. But anyway, the whole idea of the Pushmatic is obviously we know what a regular circuit breaker is. It's got a lever. This you push down, it clicks in place, and you push down again, and then lifts up. So if it's in the up position, it's going to be normally off. If it's pushed down, it's going to be in the on position. But I would definitely not recommend, I never recommend tripping breakers anyway, but definitely don't trip these, because one of the problems they had is that they didn't reset properly. So, you turn it off and then you can't get it to reset. And we're going to talk about the reason why it did that and some of the other reasons why they're really not that popular anymore. So let me come down and show you another picture over here. And here's a bigger picture of that same panel, and I can make it even bigger. Notice if you come down here, that's right, even they made a mini, and there you go. So there's a split or mini breaker on a Pushmatic. Okay, I will tell you this: they're very hardy panels. In other words, they're well built. It's probably one of the heavier panels. Let me come down here. And we can see the connections are right here, all the way through. And we talked about the main service, and that's where the conductors go. So is there a problem or an issue with Pushmatic breakers, and how do you inspect them? So look, you're going to inspect it like you would any other panel. We're going to look, and here's a neutral up here. Okay. Like any other panel, right? Notice there's rust on that. Again, this is an older panel. We got some corrosion here. So the inspection will be the same as any other service panel. Make sure our conductors are amped correctly for the service disconnect. It'll be labeled on there what it is. In this case, I think it's 100. And then we're going to go through breaker by breaker, Pushmatic breaker by breaker, and make sure that they're amped correctly, right? 15 amp breaker, 20 amp breaker. They do have double pole breakers. Here's one right here. Okay, it's a little different setup. It's not the typical Z bar, so they'll be across like this, not next to each other. So for any 240 volt, they'll look like this. So we're just going to make that a 240, so you can see it. And so make sure the connections are tight. There's no corrosion. The boxes are close, so the insulation comes off pretty quick. It's got to be off, they say, within an inch or so. Most panels, so this might be a little bit even tighter because there's not a lot of room inside here. You see it's tight. You're running the conductors down. There's not a whole lot of room, right? I'm going to go up there. So that's what we're going to check for, all that. But what else, can we tell our clients? So let's take a look here. I just put this together. So Bulldog was a manufacturer name, and then ITE Pushmatic breakers. I believe ITE bought Bulldog out or merged with them at some point. So again, manufactured between 1950 and 1980. And I always tell people, if there's any one question I would want to know about the house, you know, the listing sheets, a lot of times those are fiction. But if there's any one question I would like to know is, when was the house built? You know, because you could tell a lot by that. What type of plumbing they used at that time? What type of electric? Was there aluminum wire between, you know, 68, say, and 72? What about knob and tube? When did that go out? When did they use a lot of asbestos? When was that banned? And the same thing with Pushmatic. So they were manufactured between 1950 and 1980. So there was a lot of houses being built during those time frames. So there's a lot of them out there. Okay. They may trip at lower voltage, nuisance tripping, and very difficult to reset. That was the biggest problem they had. As far as I know, and I could be wrong, but there were not a lot of fires associated. So we hear about FPE or Federal Pacific fires, aluminum wiring and all that. Fires with them, not you know, they didn't use aluminum with Federal, but so there were issues with those panels. But I have not heard that. And if you have, by all means, give me any case files. You know, you can include them right here in the comments if you've heard of that. But I have not heard of that. I'm unaware of it being documented. The biggest problem they had was that they were nuisance tripping and difficult to reset. So the modern breakers here, we have magnetic short circuit currents and a thermal trip. So they have two ways to interrupt that circuit. And so the Pushmatics just have, they do not have a magnetic. Okay. So there's only one. So it's like a belt and suspender, right? So the newer breakers, we like to have that. We like to have both. And I believe that's, I don't know about code accepted standards, we'll say, to have that type of breaker. So I guess there's a potential for a problem with the Pushmatics. But I think the bigger issue is, and before we go any further, right, and I've got written here, some newer breakers have an electronic tripping units, microprocessor. I mean, some of the newer breakers are much more complicated. I'm gonna take one apart and do a training with that. It's going to be an arc fault GFI, and you can see what's going on inside there. It's a whole lot different than just a regular or about a normal trip, you know, just a normal overcurrent trip. But the biggest issue that we had is that they would trip nuisance because for whatever reason, again, there's not a safeguard in there. And then the other thing is that they won't reset. So it'd be frustrating to people that they couldn't get them to reset. You know, maybe they would wear out over time or something. I've never taken one actually apart, but I might do that and have another video with that and see what's going on inside. I always like taking things apart to see what's happening inside. So, and we could see too also another panel. So they don't all look like this. This is another one, a Pushmatic Electric Center. This is, I believe, even older. Again, same situation. This is going to be probably a sub panel. And it didn't take the cover off. And, I'm assuming that's what it is because I don't see a disconnect, and there's 8, so there shouldn't be anyway more than 6, even though that requirement has been lifted. Requirement, I should say, that's standard. We don't, you know, that's before that was accepted. Now they don't want to see that anymore. But again, as home inspectors, you know, we're not going to worry about grandfathering and codes and things like that, but it's good to know. But you see that there's 8 of them here, so this should be a sub panel. And again, we're going to inspect it the same way. Some rust on here. Again, don't trip them. If one of them pops when we pull the cover off, well, that's not good either. So that's about it. So again, an inspection of this panel is really the same as any other panel. However, we would make a different note, and I'm going to let me make that note. And here you go. So for a Pushmatic, we're going to obviously go over to the electric section right here. And we got a couple nice things, and service supply from Maine, which is fine. You can check that overhead wherever it is. Where our meter is, make a note of that. Service conductor, we already checked this before, but in this case, it was aluminum, I believe, or copper clad. And We'll take a look at what that cable looks like, what the clearance of that cable is, all that. And then we're going to go over to, here we go. So we're going to look at the service disconnect type. In this case, it's a circuit breaker, but we want to be a little more clear. Circuit breaker, we're going to assume it's a lever type, right? But a pushmatic is going to be here. These circuit breakers push in to engage the circuits and are outdated. They should be replaced. Okay, so we're not saying they're dangerous. We're not saying anything. We're recommending that they be replaced. Now, how do we do that? We're going to come right over here to service panels, and we're going to write down the service panel location. I'm going to go right down to this section. Let me edit this because, again, this is a report we've been working on. So we're not saying they're unsatisfactory. What we're going to note here, the service panel should be updated. Very simple, okay? I'll make that bigger for you so you can see it. And this is what InspectCheck automatically populates. A service panel noted as outdated by today's standards. Recommend update the main service panel. And I would probably write in here, update the Pushmatic. I'll write in there. The Pushmatic main service panel, done. So the report is basically over because we're going to mark that complete. We just told our client that you have Pushmatic breakers, and we recommend that they are out. We're telling you that they're outdated, and we recommend that the service panel is upgraded. Done. You don't need to go any further. You know, they don't care about Pushmatic. You know, you don't need to get into a dialogue about what they can do, what they don't have to do. Especially with electric, we don't want the clients getting too much into that. We want them to give the report to the electrician and say, look, these are Pushmatic breakers. They're old, outdated breakers. Again, we're not saying that they're dangerous or anything like that. They're more of a nuisance thing. You don't need to get that deep into the woods. Sometimes I think home inspectors get so far into the woods, they complicate the heck out of things. You know, take tons of pictures, videos, this, you know, all this, you know, all additional documentation. Look, they need to know that the circuit breakers are older, they're outdated. We don't see an actual hazard. And if you did see a hazard, or if you did see arcing or a problem like that, of course you're going to know that. But in this case, we didn't. So it wasn't even connected, right? So we would just say that the service panel should be updated, and we wrote right in there, noted older Pushmatic breakers were noted. They give that to an electrician. If he doesn't know what they're talking about, they need to go get a different electrician, right? So hopefully they'll know what you're talking about. So that's it. That's the inspection of Pushmatic. It's the same, but we're just going to recommend that it's an older unit, that it's upgraded. That's it. We don't need to reinvent the wheel here and take videos and try to take videos of us trying to set it or reset it. Don't do that. And by the way, do not try to set or reset those. Leave them as they are. So I hope you enjoyed this. I know somebody had requested this, and anytime you have a request, put it in the comments. I'll be happy to go over something to help out other inspectors. That's the main reason why we're doing this. And so I'm going to ask you to please subscribe to our channel. That will help us and help us get more videos out. You can also go to homeinspectortrainingonline.com, and that's going to pretty much show some of the different topics that we have. Click on and bring it to our blog. We've got quite a few white papers that I've written, also help you on your inspection. Our YouTube channel also has great videos to help you with your business, to help you to increase your business. And for InspectCheck users, of course, there's a lot of great videos there to help you with your InspectCheck. So thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and see you next time.